All right, back with another one of these. We're up in the production quality here with these wired headphones I found at the bottom of my backpack. And we're not going to bother with the music this time. Shout out, though, to that first commenter on the last video. This is going to be another story that's really about me, but I'm just saying it's about someone else. And it's the time that I met an incel in real life and just sort of some observations, takeaways, a narration of what happens. If you don't know, incel means involuntarily celibate. It's a man who would like to get laid, but just can't do it for reasons outside of his control, mentally, physically, society's emotional issues, whatever it is. The reason is outside of the control, hence the involuntary part. If you read the internet, you'll sort of be painted a pretty negative picture of who these guys are, and you may have heard throwaway jokes in real life about it. So it's a fairly gloomy label to have. So here we go. To start the scene, I suppose, I was at a hackathon, so lots of men, pretty much all dudes, really. And one of the participants there was a self-proclaimed incel. So this is not me just meeting a guy and saying, just how he is, he must be an incel. This is what he said. Maybe it was a part of his identity because he certainly led off with it pretty quick. And I gotta say, like that struck me as pretty confident. So I was very intrigued by someone who's actually said that, and I've really not heard it in that way in real life. So that was pretty intriguing too. But it's just the picture that you have of these guys. Confidence is not exactly a trait that you would expect them to have. Overall, I mean, he's a well-spoken dude, very intelligent, like book study. He had a really good job, money. I mean, he dressed pretty fine too. Again, like not maybe I haven't gone that far into it, but maybe not exactly the picture of what an incel would be. And now, when we read about these ideas online after a certain amount of time, that they sort of start to fuse into you, and they leak out into reality as well. So that has to be one of the consideration of spending so much time lost in your mind in the feeds, is that you're gonna internalize this stuff, and then maybe you're out here shouting that I'm an incel, which is maybe like a reverse way of continuing to stay in that identity. And from the beginning of this interaction, and really throughout the whole time, there was never once a plea that you need to help me, asking to try to change his mind about anything like that. It was just a stern admission of, this is my identity. This is a space where I can lead with that, because certainly with the line of work he's in, he was not going around introducing himself that way. So when we read about these things online and you're encountered with it in real life, there's sort of a disconnect because you're expecting a lot worse, but 9 times, maybe even higher out of 10, you're just dealing with a normal person, where you have this perception you've created from scrolling the magical feed and timeline about what they're really supposed to be, but they're mostly just a normal person. And of course, you can never truly know what's in someone's heart, even if you've known it for years in some cases, and certainly not in this situation where it was a very controlled environment and we only really spoke together for maybe 30, 45 minutes total here. And we'd, sort of volley back and forth. I had to know, like, when did you decide you're an incel? Are you still dating now? Like, what have you tried that's worked? What hasn't worked? Like, what do you think the state of dating for men is? Just these philosophical kind of questions, some practical. And one of the cracks that I did see when I would, put in my 2 cents on, what some dating strategies I've tried or successes I've had in the past, it was anger was coming out, and it wasn't something that I wanted to play around with too much here. I mean, in general, and then maybe there's some bias of the angry incel there too. But I did notice that anger would come out in hearing about positive views or sort of more conflicting views, just like slight annoyances, little tweaks like that. We did disagree on a mating strategy, I guess you could call it, where he had an interesting concept of, he leads with shock value. Maybe it's political. Maybe he'll say more just aggressive things when he's opening up to talk to women. And I just sort of thought, well, maybe it's worth looking at it more fun at the beginning, and then you can sort of get to know each other on that level as you go on through your actions later on, how you guys speak together. These things are sort of naturally implied over time. Whereas for him, it was an immediate filtering mechanism to weed out people who couldn't deal with his humor. You know, and I believe that there's someone out there for everybody. So it could be a valid and just more intense strategy that I'm used to seeing. But we kind of disagreed on that, and it did lead to a little discussion about how much can you be yourself while socializing, especially in a dating context. Obviously, he's living an extreme version of being himself by just 100% putting out that shock value kind of matter to weed out the people that wouldn't hang out. Whereas someone who's socialized know that it's a bit of a dance, that you might hold your opinion back because you know it's going to start a debate where it's not exactly warranted, or it might hurt someone's feelings, and that might lower the mood of the room. When to use comedy, when to deploy these different tactics, where this is just a sort of amount of freedom that a normal person might not have, because an incel type might just conclude it's easier to just be myself 100% and not care about what the outcome is, because I'm 100% authentic. And I mean, it doesn't sound so bad on paper, but obviously, we know through this one extreme example that that's not going to get the outcome you want, and it could put you in that involuntary category. So from there, we really just went our own separate ways. I thought it was a pretty cool interaction. Wasn't really something that I was expecting to be a takeaway from being at this hackathon tech event. But we got to wrangle some pretty interesting ideas, things that I've only really read about on the internet from time to time. So yeah, I liked it so much that I wanted to try to pontificate about it here on this weird YouTube video experiment that I'm trying out. I don't think I'm really at the point where I'm trying to give morals to a story or anything, but I might just say that if you encounter somebody like this, it's probably going to be interesting to listen and ask them some questions about it, because a lot of times when someone's doing something and they feel pretty strong enough to brag about it, or to introduce it as their identity, that they almost want you to pry into it a little bit and ask about it. So there you go. Thanks for sitting through this one. I'll see you for another one soon.